All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Swag Talk. Of course, this is the show where we cover the swag inside and out. I'm your tour guide around the swag, C Wells, and we're going to continue through our tour around the swag, man. We're making our way all the way around the swag. We're going to stop back in the state of Mississippi, head up to the Delta, and talk about the Mississippi Valley Delta Devils. We rapidly approaching the start of the season with week 0. So we are on our way, man. We got the week 0 preview coming in a couple weeks. We got preview coming up on Sunday. Southern on Wednesday, TSU on Sunday, and probably Monday or Tuesday we'll have our UAP next Monday or Tuesday. We'll have our UAPB preview up, and that'll wrap up our previews, which will finish us up right in time for our week 0 preview. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, man. We got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. Still gonna have some other things dropping throughout the week leading up into the season. So hit that notification bell to be alerted to anything that drop, so you don't miss out on anything. Like the videos and share them, and feel free to comment on your thoughts about what you think about the Devil season, what they did last year, how you think they're gonna do this year. So hit me up on that. Also, you can check out the socials. They're on the screen down below. Instagram is Swag Talk, Twitter Swag Talk 76, Facebook is Swag Talk. So hit me up on those and keep tabs on also what's going on in the swag world through the social. So let's not waste no time, man. Let's talk Mississippi Valley football. And in order to talk about 2022, we have to talk about 2021, which was one of the most for Valley, one of their more successful seasons in quite some time. It didn't start off that way, but early portion, or I guess you can say third game of the season, things started to come around for them, and they would ultimately finish the season up going 4-4. So they started off 0-3, finished 4-4 to finish 4-7 overall, which was one of the better seasons record-wise that Valley has had in quite some time. Just all it kind of all came together, offense, defense. They started playing much better. They picked up, a couple nice wins on the season, so they were able to, pick up a road victory, and win a couple games at home, and find themselves in a good place. So you can't really complain too much about what this team did, especially if you know where Valley came from. They actually finished with 2 wins on the road, 2 wins at home. So really, a nice season. They opened up the season against Murray State, losing that game 35-0. They lost to Stephen F. Austin 58-13 the next week. And then they played Southern on September 26th, and they lost that game 38-25. Now that game, that's a double-digit margin, but that team, I think they started to kind of find out who they were in that game, and the offense started clicking a little bit. Defense started playing a bit better, especially in the second half. And that bled on into their game on October 2nd, which was against North Carolina Central, which they won by a score of 17-16 on a last-second touchdown from Easton to Caleb Johnson to get them the victory. So, they found some success. They went on the road and beat Bethune-Cookman to win back-to-back games for the first time in a while. They won that game 20-14. October 16th, they lost a 24-12 decision to Alcorn, another game that was close. Florida A&M came to Itabena, and they left with a 31-28 victory. Again, another close matchup against a team who would ultimately probably be the second best team in the conference last season. So they came in and they played a very good game. October 30th against Jackson State, they lost that game 28-19. Again, another close game at home. They were very, very tough at home. They always, they may not always win games at home, but they are very tough to beat in Itabena. They went on the road to Alabama A&M and lost 42-14. They would beat Alabama State at home 44-31, and then they would close out their season with a 24-19 victory at Prairie View, who would ultimately be the SWAC West champs. So if you look at this season, you can see, you can kind of see things start to come together for them. They had two-game winning streaks, and actually they closed out their season on a winning streak. So they're coming into this season on a 2-game winning streak, and that's been a while since that happened. But, this team is going to, they were very tough. Like I said, statistically, looking at some of their numbers, They were actually 11th in the league in scoring offense at 19.6 points per game. They scored 27 touchdowns, 11 field goals, 21 extra points on the season for 216 total points. Defensively, they were 7th in the league in total in scoring defense, allowing 30.5 points per game. Um, Actually, finishing with a better margin, better scoring defense average than two teams who are teams who are considered to be better than them. Both teams beat them, but they finished with a 30.5 point per game margin. 45 touchdowns allowed, 8 field goals, 40 extra points, 1 2-point conversion for the opponents for 336 points. Total offense, Valley was 10th in the league in total offense at 311 yards per game. They averaged 4.9 yards per play, which would be 10th in the league in that category. Um, Defensively, they were 7th in the league in total defense, 378.6 yards per game. They allowed 5.9 yards per play, which would be 6th in the league. So that defense was pretty in the average middle, which is, for a team like that, that's what you want. You don't want a bad defense, but your defense is probably not going to be elite. So rushing offense, Valley actually was 6th in the league in rushing offense, 143.6 yards per game, 3.7 yards per carry, which was 8th in the league. Rushing defense, Valley was 5th. So they were pretty tough to run the ball on, 144 yards per game, 4.2 yards per carry for the opponents, which would put them at 8th in the league in that category. Passing offense, Valley was 11th in the league in passing offense at 167.9 yards per game, 10 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 56% completion rate. Passing defense, Valley was 8th, 234 yards per game. They allowed 25 touchdowns and 13 interceptions, 59% completion rate. Those 13 interceptions actually tied with the two best defenses in the league in terms of interceptions. The 13 turnovers for Valley tied with Jackson State and FAMU for the most in the league. So that defense did a great job of turning teams over, especially in terms of interceptions. That's definitely the key to being able to be successful or finding your way to win some games. Unfortunately, Valley fumbled the ball 16 times on the season, and they lost 7 of them, which gave them a total of 17 turnovers on the season. And the opponents turned the ball over. Also, they fumbled the ball 5 times on the season, giving them 18. So Valley had a -1 turnover margin, which is not that bad for a team like that. They did a decent job of taking care of the football, but they did a really good job of forcing turnovers. So that's always a positive. Kickoff returns, Valley was last in the league at 15.9 yards per return. Punt returns, they were 9th in the league at 5.8 yards per return. So not really good in terms of getting that extra yardage, here and there. But they found a way in certain situations. Kickoffs, they averaged 57 yards per kick and 37.4 yards net kick average, and they had 12 touchbacks. All those 12 touchbacks would put them tied for 5th place. So not bad, not great. Field goals, Valley was 10th in the league, 11 of 18 for 61%. Extra points, Valley was 11th in the league, 21 of 24 for 87%. Punting, Valley was 5th in the league. They had a 37-yard average, 32.5 yards per punt net. Returns, they only allowed an average of returns. They allowed 7.4 yards per return. So that was 1 point on that special teams that really could be better. They had the second highest amount of yardage per return on opponent punt returns. So they gave up quite a bit of extra yardage, and that can add up over the course of a game. They were 9th in sacks allowed with 27. They were 7th in the league in sacks for their defense with 23. Interceptions, as I said, they were tied for the lead with 13. First downs, they averaged 16 first downs per game, which was 11th in the league. The opponents averaged 18.6, which also put them at sixth in the league in terms of opponent first downs. Third down conversions, Valley was 10th in the league, 46 of 151 for 30%. The defense was ninth in the league, 66 of 150 for 44%. Fourth down conversions, Valley was third in the league, 10 of 18 for 55%. And defensively, they were fourth in the league, allowing 40% conversion rate, 6 of 15. Penalties, Valley was the fourth least penalized team in terms of yards per game at 53. They had 69 penalties. The opponents had 70 penalties for 58.3 yards per game, which was sixth in the league. Red zone offense, Valley was ninth, 27 of 33 for 81%, 20 touchdowns, 13 rushing, 7 passing, 7 of 10 on field goals. They had 1 fumble and 1 turnover on downs, so 2 turnovers basically in the red zone. Defensively, they were fifth in the league in red zone defense, allowing 81% conversion, 34 of 42. They allowed 27 touchdowns in the red zone, 12 rushing, 15 passing, 7 of 9 on field goals, 1 fumble, 2 interceptions, and 2 turnovers on downs, so 5 turnovers. 5 turnovers in the red zone. Time of possession, they were sixth in the league at 30 minutes and 41 seconds. Looking at some of their individual guys in terms of statistics, the leading rusher was Caleb Johnson. Mr. I called him the best running back in the league that nobody really knew of. That title is out the window. You guys obviously have to know who he is at this point. So he actually was the only 1,000-yard rusher in the conference last season at 1,004 yards, 232 carries, 4.3 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns. Darian Williams had 48 carries on the season, 208 yards, 4.3 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. Jelani Eason 74 carries, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jacoby Thomas, 27 carries, 143 yards, 5.3 yards per carry, and 3 touchdowns. So as you can see, it was the Caleb Johnson show. He got the bulk of the carries, and he did a great job carrying the ball. I mean, he was a guy that can get inside, he can get outside, he can catch the ball. He can do it all. He's a guy that you definitely have to know what he is at all times on the field. Jelani Eason was the leading passer, 126 of 210, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 1,533 yards, 60% completion rate. Connor Reagan was 34 of 73 for 46%, 314 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Receiving, Ja'Cory Rankin led the team with 42 catches for 682 yards, 16.2 yards per catch, and 4 touchdowns. Jarius Clayton, 27 catches, 345 yards, 12.7 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns. Malik Myers, 17 catches, 160 yards, 9.4 yards per catch, 1 touchdown. Donald Johnson, 16 catches, 150 yards, 9.3 yards per catch, and a touchdown. Latavius Porter, 8 catches, 128 yards, 16 yards per catch, and 2 touchdowns. Moving on to their defense, Keontae Daniels led the defense with 66 tackles, 57 tackles for Swanier, 56 tackles for Dion Reed, 55 for Markel Gladney, 45 for Jaron Fox, 44 for Jeremiah Kane, and 39 for Jalen Bell. Tackles for loss, Swanier with 10.5, Bell with 9.5, Garner with 8, Thomas with 8, Daniels with 7.5, Reed with 7. Sacks, Ronnie Thomas led the defense with 6.5 sacks on the season, 4 for Bell, 3 for Garner, Swanier with 2. Interceptions, Daniels had 3 to lead the team, Gladney with 2, Martin with 2, Bloodsaw with 2, Brunson with 2, and a few other guys with 1. Moving on to the special teams, Orlando Fernandez was the punter. He had 62 punts for 2,611 yards, 42-yard average. 69 yards was his long on the season. 7 touchbacks, 17 punts fair caught, 21 punts inside the 20, and 11 50-plus yard punts. Fernandez also did the field goal kicking. He was 11 of 18 on the season for 61%. His long on the season was 50. He was 1 for 50 from 50 plus. He was 5 of 8 from 40 to 49 yards, 3 of 4 for 30 to 39 yards, and 2 of 4 from 20 to 29 yards. And he also did a kickoff. So this guy was their all everything guy. 74 kicks, 4,291 yards, 58-yard average on kickoffs, 12 touchbacks on the season. Returns, Jarius Clayton was their punt returner. He had 8 returns for 46 yards, 5.7 average. And kickoffs, Donald Johnson had 20 returns for 397 yards. That's a 19.8-yard average to lead the team. So looking at this team moving on to the 2022 season, like I said, they had a really, a solid season. Record-wise may not have been great, but, this was a team that, really improved as the season went on. So they're coming into the season with a lot of momentum. A lot of people feel like this team will be a dark horse in the division. Maybe not a division contender, but a team that can really find their way in that middle portion of the conference. And I feel the same way. I think that this team is gonna be tough. They're gonna be a tough out all year. I think they're gonna be one of those teams that you're gonna not want to have to play against. Because they're gonna be tough. Now the level of success that they have this season, that's ultimately gonna be up to a few things. And we'll start off by looking at the schedule for the season. They open up their season in a typical Valley fashion with some tough games on the road. To start their season, they open up their season at Tarleton State on a Thursday. That's just the second year that they are playing on a Thursday. So nice start for them as far as the season goes. That's a tough matchup, but it's a game that if they can find themselves playing decently, they can find themselves in a nice situation there. September 10th, they play Austin Peay on the road, so another game on the road that's going to be a challenging matchup there. But Valley schedule's tough. They put themselves in some situations to test them. So that's another matchup that's going to be a little tough. They come home for their first home matchup against Delta State on September 17th. I think past Valley teams, I would say this would probably be a loss, but I think this team is going to be able to navigate this game. So I think they'll be okay in this position. September 24th, they're at Jackson State. Last season they played JSU tough. On the road is going to be an interesting affair. Like I said, we still have to be able to figure out Valley at home and Valley on the road. They did win 2 games on the road, which was good. That's a start. But I think they're gonna play Jackson tough. It's a rivalry for them, so I think they'll come out and play tough in this game. But it's gonna be a tough matchup for them. October 1st, they go to Tallahassee, so back-to-back tough games on the road. Their road schedule is no joke to start the season, and this continues that. So we'll see, how they play in Bragg. They played great at home in this game. Will they be able to have that same energy on the road? That's going to be something that we have to see. Coming home, they play against Alcorn on October 8th. Good matchup here. They match up. Last year they matched up pretty well with Alcorn. I think Alcorn is going to be one of the top 2 teams in the division. So this will be another tough matchup. The first 3 conference games are against teams who I feel are tops in their division, so not an easy start. October 15th, they go to Alabama State. Again, Alabama State's one of those teams I personally don't know where they're going to be at. There's varying expectations and varying thoughts on where this team will be, but this is a game that can be a solid game for them if they can find a way to win this game. This game is one of those games that they need to win to find themselves in a good position in the division. So this is definitely one of those swing type games. They come home on October 12th to take on Bethune-Cookman. Bethune-Cookman is going to be much improved. I think, they did beat them last season. So but I think they'll be much improved. Should be a great matchup for Valley. Bethune-Cookman's going to find it kind of hard to play up there, and I like Valley's chances still in this game. The next week, after a bye week, they get to play Alabama A&M on a Thursday night at home. Big home matchup on Thursday night, ESPNU. As you can see, the big old ESPNU right there. Nice game at home on a Thursday night. Hopefully, everybody will turn out. A&M is again a team like Bama State. Kind of varying expectations. Defensively, they brought in a gang of guys out the portal on their defense. So, some people feel like they'll be better this year on defense. Some people feel like, they're gonna not be good. I mean, they weren't that good last season on defense, but will they be better? That's gonna be a key offensively. They still have weapons, but they are, at this point, whoever's playing quarterback is not new anymore. It's November 3rd, so their offense still has weapons, so we'll see where they stand. But this is a home game for Valley. It's a chance for them to come out and show out. So I expect them to definitely be spitting fire in this game. And this should be a very interesting matchup. I think Valley got a decent chance in this one as well. November 12th, they go to Southern. Um, they play Southern. They played Southern pretty tough in the second half of the game last season. Southern is another team that some people think they're going to win a division. Some people feel like they can be a middle of the division type of team. Where Southern's at is probably going to dictate how this game goes. I think either way it goes is going to be a close affair. I'm not saying like a 3-4 point game, but this is a game that can be close going into the fourth quarter. If Valley can hang in there, and you never know what can happen. But I think it's going to be the final tough matchup on the road for them this season. And then they close out at home against Prairie View in a matchup. They beat Prairie View last year, but that was a different team, different staff. We don't know. I call Prairie View an enigma because they're another team that can finish anywhere in the division. But I like this matchup for Valley. I think Valley has confidence this season. I think Coach Dancy has these guys believing that they can play with anybody. So I think the schedule starts off really tough. I mean, as far as the first few SWAC games, I think it starts off pretty challenging. But it gets a little bit more manageable as the season goes along. Having I guess you could say 3 out of your 4 road games are against teams who are considered division contenders, whether that's through the media or us. So those are 3 tough games on the road. Bama State's a wild card team as far as that goes, but that's a tough place to play. They have 4 tough SWAC road games. Then you throw in those 2 early season road games. This team is going to be challenged on the road. If they can find any modicum of success on the road, then I think this team can have a good season. Now, I will say that this is the type of team who I think record-wise may not be much better than it was last season, or it may even take a step back, but that doesn't mean that this team is not going to be a good team. To me, the games that really matter the most in this schedule, especially in the conference side of it, are your 3 games between October 15th and November 3rd. That's Alabama State, Bethune-Cookman, and Alabama A&M. Those are your peers in terms of the middle portion of the division. So they need to win those matchups. If they can win all 3 of those, that puts them in a decent spot to finish in the top part of the division. If they can win those 3 and, maybe, steal a game against Southern Alcorn and beat Prairie View, then that puts you at a really good spot in the division. That puts you at like 4-4, which is a really good, middle of the pack finish for this type of team. And with the Delta State game, winning that game would put you at 5-6. I don't think either of the first 2 games are like unwinnable, but it's really going to be how they come out and play in those first couple games, because typically, they don't really play that great in the early portions of the season. But there is a path to like 6 wins on the schedule. I'm not fully comfortable in pointing in saying that, but when you look at some of the returning guys, they return a lot. They obviously return Caleb Johnson, who is the leading rusher in the conference's leading rusher in terms of in terms of yardage. They return they return basically their top 4 ball carriers. So the run game should be solid. Jelani Easton is the only returning passer, but they brought in some talent at that position. They still have T.J. Goodwin, who was a UTEP transfer, and they also brought in Jamari Jones, who is one of the best JUCO quarterbacks from EMCC, who is one of the better JUCO quarterbacks last season. So they have a nice quarterback room. Guys who can make plays with their legs and their arms. The receivers are solid. Ja'Cory Rankin returns, who is the leading receiver on the team. Malik Myers also returns. Donald Johnson returns. They have, like I keep saying, they have some guys coming back who definitely made plays. Jarius Clayton is really the only lost at receiver that they have. So they brought in a lot of guys at receiver out of the through the portal and basically through the high school ranks. So they brought in some guys that are gonna challenge these guys. The offense, is under is in the second year of this offense, so they're gonna be better. Defensively, I think that, defensively is gonna have to carry the weight for this team early in the season. I think you really, especially playing on the road, you really want your defense to shine. And they return 4 of their top 10 tacklers from last season. So they taken a big loss, although they return Ronnie Thomas, who is their leading sack man and one of their top tackle for loss guys. So they took some losses, but I think this team was really aggressive in the portal on both sides of the ball. I think they put themselves in a good position to be successful this season. Whether that translates to more wins is one of the things. Our offensive line is somewhere that I really want to see them kind of really step up, because I think that's going to be a key. I would love to see the offense be able to strike downfield more. I thought this team was more of a horizontal type of passing attack, really, getting their guys out in space and letting them make plays. From what I saw watching Valley, I don't think they went deep too often, but you have a guy like Caleb Johnson who can make plays regardless, because everybody knows he's getting the ball. I think that's one of those guys that is the difference maker. So if they can have somebody that can complement him consistently, this offense will be good. They're gonna have to score points, score more points. Last season they did not score a lot of points, so that the offense is gonna have to carry weight this season. Last season the defense, they improved as the season went on, but the offense was up and down in terms of scoring. They're gonna have to be consistent in that, and especially early in the season, scoring some points early in the season, because, like I said, their first 5 games, they have some tough matchups in their first 5 games, and 4 of 5 are on the road. So if they can make it through the first 5 games, maybe 2 and 3, then I think this team can really find themselves at 6 wins. But right now, I'm gonna be optimistic and say Valley's gonna finish 5 and 6. I think they're gonna beat somebody in the conference that you would not expect. So I think they're gonna finish 5 and 6, and that's another step in the right direction as this team continues to grow and learn and develop under Coach Dancy. So I like this team a lot. I think they're gonna be good. They may not be great, but they can finish, anywhere from 3rd to 5th. I don't see Valley finishing last. Unfortunately, somebody's gonna have to finish last in the division. But I don't see it being them this year. So I like where they finish. I think they can finish 3rd or 4th, honestly, if, the chips fall right. So keep your eyes on Valley. They're gonna be tough to beat this season. I think they're gonna be a team who you're gonna not want to have to play. If you play them, you're gonna want to have to play them early. Teams that play them late are going to definitely be in for some fights because I think this team will be well-rounded once the season comes to a conclusion. So I'm like I said, my prediction, Valley 5-6. I like this team a lot. I think they're gonna be better. They could surprise some people and finish with a better record, but I'm gonna hedge my bets at 5-6, and that's gonna do it for our Valley preview. Sunday we'll have our preview. Thursday, Swag Smoke live as usual, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. So check that out. And we're making our way through the Swag, man. We only got a few. We got 4 more previews. This was our 8th preview of the year. We have 4 more, all on the West Side. So get ready for a West Side tour, Texas, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas. Then we wrap this thing up and get ready for the season. So that's gonna do it for me. I'm gonna stop the bus, let y'all hop off. Hope y'all enjoyed y'all tour around the SWAC today, and we'll catch y'all on Thursday for another edition of SWAC Smoke. So we'll see y'all when I see y'all, and I'll holler at y'all. Peace.